Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Better You. I'm your host, Monica Brooks, and today we're going to talk about something that we've all encountered, and that is feedback. I recently had someone give me feedback who I love and adore, and I respect them, and yet it was still hard. And I had a really hard time dealing with the feedback because that made me feel a lot of different ways I didn't like. So we're going to dive into that today. We're going to talk about why does feedback suck? And also, is there a way to make it not suck? So if you're ready, let's get started. Welcome to the Becoming a Better You podcast. My name is Monica Brooks, and I'm a self-improvement enthusiast who is eager to share tips and strategies to help you become the best version of yourself. As an inspirational speaker who transitioned from a corporate career, I'm here to guide you on your journey towards enhancing your overall human experience. If you're ready to take the first step towards becoming the best version of yourself, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. When I first think about feedback, I have to go back a few years. I was sitting at this business retreat with about 30 to 40 other professionals, and the leader wanted to know how each person felt about feedback and how they liked to receive feedback. Now, I was sitting towards the back of the class, so I had the opportunity to listen to everyone, and they all kind of had the same message. I like feedback. I like to know where I can do better. I like feedback received this way versus another way. And as I was listening, I'm like, I don't think I feel the same way. And so it was my turn to talk about feedback and how I felt about it. And I remember saying, to be honest, I don't really like feedback because I'd like to believe that what I'm doing is my best as an overachiever. And it might be, but I don't like that there's room for improvement because I'm like this recovering perfectionist who just wants to do everything right. So feedback to someone like me can be interpreted as you're not good enough, you failed, you're a failure, you could have done better. It feels like I'm being attacked, even though I know the value of feedback. Like I get it. And I get that people say feedback is a gift. And I strongly disagree with that because it doesn't feel like a gift. And I get why people say that. And I'm actually really big on feedback. I ask for feedback because I do want to know. But I think secretly, I also want to be told like, no, everything you did was great. I wouldn't have changed a thing. That feels good. Like that feels better to me. But that's not reality. The other day, I was talking to my husband about feedback and how hard it is to receive, and my son in the back seat chimed in, it always is. You see, feedback is hard, but it's something important to me that I've also taught my son. He's 9, but we talk about the importance of feedback and how it can make us better. There's a helpful approach I want to share with you when it comes to being the giver of feedback. And then we're going to circle back around and talk about how to not make feedback suck so much. As a giver of feedback, sometimes we avoid it because it feels like confrontation. But in reality, it takes a lot of courage to be able to give feedback, especially to someone you care about, because that recipient has the potential to take it very personal, even though it's not. One way I like to avoid the awkwardness of giving feedback is by asking a simple question to that person. Would you be open to some feedback? It's a simple but powerful question, and to this day, I've never had anyone tell me no. When you ask that question, it opens up space to have a conversation. Yes, this is a question that my son even asks me. As soon as he says, "Mom, can I give you some feedback?" I begin to feel worried, like I'm doing something wrong. And sometimes his feedback is right on point. For example, one time he said, "Mom, I feel like when I talk to you, you're not really paying attention." Oh, that hit my heart, and I put my phone down because he was absolutely right. That's the thing with feedback. Sometimes it hurts because it's true. That was an area I continually need to work on. But if you're the recipient, some things to consider when getting that feedback. How well does this person know me? Does this person care about me and have my best interests in mind? Was this delivered in a caring way? Now, if you're on the receiving end of that feedback, I get it. Your first instinct might be to get defensive or shut down. But here's where mindset shift can make all the difference. Instead of seeing feedback as a judgment, try to just see it as data. It's information you can choose to use or not. It's totally up to you. Feedback can feel like an attack on your character, and that's where we may take it a bit personal. But feedback has nothing to do with your character. It has something to do with what you're doing, a way you can improve on something, but not really who you are as a person. And that's one way we can separate and make it less sucky, is to separate those two things. It's not your character, it's just something you're doing that perhaps you could do a little bit differently or a little bit better. But I encourage you also to be open and honest with yourself. Because if that feedback hurt, ask yourself, why does this hurt so much? And sometimes it's because we may have had a blind spot that we're not aware of and we don't like it. Or there is areas for us to improve. And you're someone who I know can grow from this. I want to share a book with you that has changed my life and that I always think of when it comes to feedback. It's called The Last Lecture. This is a book I really encourage everyone to read. It is so powerful. But in that book, he talks about receiving feedback and how we should be concerned when people stop giving us feedback. Because in a way, that means that they've given up on you. They don't see the possibility for you to change or improve. And that's a different perspective where we can make feedback suck less. It's basically someone saying, I care about you, and I know that you're going to take what I give you and you're going to grow from this and become better. That perspective can help me move through feedback even better. Now, moving through that emotion of feedback reminds me of the change curve. And if you're not familiar with the change curve, I'll show it here on YouTube, but also just take a look at it. You can Google the change curve and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the change curve is really when change happens, what that looks like. Because at first we're in this shock and denial and resistance and even a bit of a depression. That's all the emotion that's happening. But then you start to move through that and you kind of go up on this change curve, and that's where the action comes in. So feedback is emotional, just like change is. But as soon as we can move through that emotion, acknowledge how this feels, then we can really get to that improvement piece. So remember, the emotion behind change is okay. But hopefully that perspective can help it suck a little bit less, and knowing that it's just a part of a change that's happening within you. So here's the bottom line. Feedback doesn't have to suck. In fact, when it's done right, it's one of the most powerful tools for personal and professional growth. And that's why we're here, right? We want to become better and improve ourselves, and we won't be able to fully do that without feedback. Until next time, everyone.